Welcome to the Clean Power Hour Live, bringing you the latest and greatest wind, solar, and battery news from myself, Tim Montague. Check out all of our content at cleanpowerhour.com. And welcome to the show, my co-host, commercial solar guy, John Weaver.
Hey, Tim, it has been a while since we've seen each other.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Happy New Year.
Happy New
Happy
Year.
holidays.
It is our first show of 2026.
2026. Welcome.
Hard to believe it's 26, man. 2026.
Yep. We are in the second quarter of the 21st century.
We are. How are we doing, John? How are we doing as a species?
Let's talk about that in the third quarter if we get there. How's that? Some things we're doing great, man. Some things we need to practice.
We're still alive. We're still kicking.
We're definitely kicking. There's lots of kicking going on. This is not a doubt. Yes.
You know, I mean, wind and solar and batteries are going to continue to go up and down. The solar coaster is real. It's alive and well, but they're also here to stay. There's no doubt. And we're going to talk about a story today from Mark Jacobson in PB Magazine about the pace of installation that China's making versus the US. And before I forget, I wanted to recommend a book about China for anyone interested in the differences between the US and China, John. It's called Breakneck by Dan Wang. It's getting a lot of press. And I'm early in the book, so I can't say a whole lot about it, but just in the introduction, and there's Chris Letman joining us.
Hey,
Welcome,
Chris.
But just in the introduction, Dan Wang points out that in China, the bureaucrats are largely made up of engineers, whereas in the US, the bureaucrats are largely made up of attorneys. And he's just setting the table for this is perhaps why China seems to be able to build things bigger, faster, cheaper than we are in the US. And he gives an example of how quickly they're able to build nuclear power plants. And the pace that they're able to build nuclear is 10x that of what we're able to do in the US, which is pretty intense. And of course, they're building lots of wind and solar and batteries too. But before we get into the news, John, do you want to say anything else about the scorecard?
The scorecard? What scorecard?
Us being in the second quarter.
Oh,
entering the second quarter. I'd say it's Earth 1, human 0.
I don't know. I mean, the humans have definitely done a whole bunch. We can influence this whole Earth, man. It's our it's
just
our
like
domain
ants.
To win and lose. Yep. And we're doing some great things. There's 8 billion of us. Poverty is dropping globally. You know, we had some bumps in the last few years. COVID hurt us a bit. You know, now we're talking about my political science history, Tim. We're outside of solar. But you know, broadly and technologically, we're touching on the edges of things. I mean, maybe these next level computer chips we're designing will turn into something cool. We'll become, you know, semi-intelligent. But, you know, LLMs are pretty neat. They're not AI, but they are pretty neat. And clean energy is pretty cool. And nuclear is cool. And one day we'll learn fusion, but not yet. But EVs are cool, and public transportation, and so many things. We fly giant pieces of metal. We set things on fire, and then they circle the earth. And what we do inside of them, we sit in chairs and sip tea.
And we raw dog sometimes.
Oh, geez, Tim.
Raw dog meaning sitting peacefully and being bored. I challenge our listeners to sit peacefully for 4 hours and be bored and not listen to music. I've started to practice going to the gym without my headphones, but it is hard to raw dog. But I had one more comment, and then let's get into this Mark Jacobson story. And that is that the human brain consumes about 15 watts. So it's not a lot of energy, and it is a very capable computer. And so while today's microprocessors, you know, computer chips, are quite hungry, there is the possibility that we could invent biological chips, so to speak, artificial brains that are very energy efficient. The human brain is quite energy efficient. So while AI is causing disruption of the grid and power prices to skyrocket, there is hope. But The question is, will we survive the AI explosion? All right, that is the question. Let's talk about Mark Jacobson, well-known
Sure.
figure in the. Oh, this is. Oh yeah. So the story is by William Driscoll, at
Yes.
TV Magazine, but it's about a paper written by Professor Mark Jacobson at Stanford University, very well-known figure. I'd love to bring Mark on the show. If anybody knows Mark, I did meet him once at a conference and pitched him on the idea of climate restoration, and it didn't go well. But anyway, Mark has this wonderful analysis of the pace of the energy transition in China versus the US. And this is what you're seeing here on screen. China is the red line. They're going to have a clean economy at the current pace by 2050. And the US, lo and behold, is on path to reach that by 2048. So basically 100 years delayed.
2148, Tim.
Oh, sorry, 2148. Yes. 100
2148.
years into the future comparatively. So that is a bit of a wake-up call. I do think energy, clean energy, is a national security thing, right? If you can make energy to run your economy and your AI data centers on photons and wind from the sun, right? Like that is going to give you an economic and military, et cetera, advantage. Would you disagree?
I think right now, the United States invading countries like Venezuela and saying it's because of the oil is a highly motivational thing to get off oil. I mean, I
Yeah.
believe from my very limited paying attention to the situation that China right now is Venezuela's largest oil trading partner, working with their country, upgrading their infrastructure, buying their oil, and then processing it in China. And now the United States went after their biggest oil trading partner. And maybe not their biggest partner, sorry, but one of their partners.
Yeah.
So this is a great motivation to not do any oil, because if sunlight makes your weapons and your cars and your vehicles
Yep.
mostly move, they're still going to need some fuels because we haven't made fighter jets with batteries yet. I don't think maybe we'll get there.
Yeah. It's
But
conceivable, but that's
yeah,
a
so this is a great reason to get off oil, So yes, I without a doubt, it's grabbing stuff from the sun, so many different levels. If your society can sustain itself during, say, a war, and you can't um, lock down the access of resources to that society, they're going to be much more patient in
mhm.
dealing with issues,
Yep.
like Russia. Putin specifically worked to make his country be able to be isolated from the Western world for when he launched his outbound attacks. That was a
Mhm.
thing of his. He made it a thing. And then when he started the Ukrainian war, he was already in a defensive posture when he attacked. And having renewables domestically power your fleet, power your homes, power your businesses, power your factories,
Yeah.
all of these things strategically prepare you for modern warfare. So I don't, it's just amongst many reasons that they're doing this. And then there's economics. Economics matter. Economics matter a lot. And you know what? I'm going to move a new article up to number 2 on our
Okay.
list. Maybe I'll share it because
Do
talk
it.
about the economics. And, maybe I'll argue that, let me share it real quick. It's about Bloomberg. So last year, Bloomberg, share screen. All right. All right. Don't show this again. Let me pick my little window. But last year, bankers, according to Bloomberg, made more money doing green bonds than doing debt for fossil fuel. And right here is the paragraph. And that's pretty good for a couple levels. One,
Well,
it's just
let's read that. Let's read that out.
oh, yes, okay, good point. Sorry. Lenders generated roughly 3.7 billion of revenue from climate-related loans and bond underwriting in 25 compared to 2.9 for oil, gas, coal, according to Bloomberg. So that's 8.8 billion less. That's like 20% less. You know, that's a lot. That's a quarter less money being made. And that's, if Wall Street is what's pushing it. If the world is about money and power, in which it is, that's just, the way it works, then this is good. Then climate stuff, economically, is powering ahead. And it needs to move faster for us as a species. But this is one path that we have to, accept and move on with.
And
And
when they say
3.7 billion.
climate related, they're referring to energy transition related, basically.
EVs, they have everything categorized pretty well what these various loans are, but EVs are a big one these days because buying new cars, buying fleets, solar projects, wind project, battery projects, but yeah, climate related.
Yep.
So it's just another path. It's a positive. The analysis done by Professor Jacobson, very good, very smart. He sees it. And it's kind of like, okay, that sucks because as you said before the show, Tim, what's the weather going to be like in the year 2150 if we take that much of a pace at slowing ourselves down? What type of civilization are we going to have? So
yeah, so and just to level set, we're at 4:30 today in the atmosphere, 4:30 ppm, and we're headed to 450 by 2050 at the current pace. Okay. And
coming.
welcome back.
Yep. Thank you very much. Sorry about that, everybody.
Your videos. Oh, there we go. So we're headed to 450 by 2050, and we're headed to 500 by 2150. So anyway, making the energy, the point is, and I just dropped an interview with Peter Fikowski, my second interview. He is one of the fathers of this new field called climate restoration, which is basically how do we get back to 300 ppm in the atmosphere? And the answers are not the energy transition, unfortunately. The energy transition is very important, and I feel very good about being an energy professional working on the energy transition. And thank you, John, and thank you, our listeners, all the solar and wind and battery professionals out there. Thank you for what you're doing. This is very important work. But we also have to suck 1 trillion tons of carbon out of the atmosphere to get back to 300. And it turns out there's microorganisms, little one-celled organisms in the ocean that do this, and there are many, and the ocean is vast, and so we just need to shine a light on that. But let's move on and find another interesting story for our listeners. You have done a great job, as usual.
Thank you.
Project of the year.
Project of the year. Not even of the week for this one, but of the year.
So what's the project? I can put this on screen.
Yeah, please do. This is our favorite project at Commercial Solar Guy that we did for the year. This is on the National Elevator Industry Education Program. They have a building in Warwick, Rhode Island, and it's now got about 279 kWdc of Qcell modules up there that will roughly offset. It should do more than 100% of their annual electricity in year 1, 2, 3, and
Nice.
This will bring them to zero. And it's just a nice, clean project with a lot of little nuances that were fun. So I'm going to write a few stories about it. For instance, we had to deal with anchors. We had a challenge with the structural when we were just about to buy hardware. The structural changed significantly. Interconnection.
So you did partially attached?
No, this is fully ballasted. We
fully
did
ballasted.
have to do 4 anchors, though, safety anchors.
Okay.
Because the structural analysis forced us to squeeze our footprint, and that put us within a certain distance of the edge of the roof.
Yeah.
And this is a story we're going to write
on the array.
No, and not for the array. For working the array, there's a new requirement in Mass and Rhode Island. Some districts have put it on, some jurisdictions haven't. But if you're within 4 feet, you have to put safety anchors to allow mechanical attachments for the sake of not falling off the roof when maybe working on the modules.
So the array is close to the edge of the roof. That's what you're saying?
Yes. There's one side of it is about 6 feet from the edge. And if you're within 10, that's when you have to do these safety anchors, one every 10 to 15 feet, something like that. So we ended up with 4 safety anchors. So a little bit of a challenge because it came out of the blue. Initially we had a big roof to work with. Then the structural came back and changed their drawing. Like they had given us a stamped letter that we could build anywhere on the roof. Then they came back and said, "Nah, we're going to take that back." It's like, oh, all right. So that was kind of challenging because we had procured a product. Like we were about to buy Unirack, and then they totally whacked it. And the customer didn't want us digging through the roof, putting in a bunch of attachments. So when they changed the structural, we had to change the racking immediately. And because Unirack didn't have a product that could work ballasted on this roof. So there's a lot about it. It's a very nice, clean product. And the cool one about it is the customer wanted union labor. Our team is not union for construction. You know, we have a couple teams that we work with. So we reached out to the local IBEW 99, and then they connected us with a few of the local contractors that exist. And so we then contracted with Newport Renewables and their union labor team. And so Newport built the entirety of the project with us.
Give us some context. What is the Rhode Island C&I market like? What are the incentives in Rhode Island? How well does commercial solar pencil?
So commercial solar pencils well. This project with union labor and no depreciation has a payback under 7 years. It's closer to 6 actually.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah, they received a grant for about $75,000. So we're talking, you know, if we're talking 279 kW, that's like 10, 20 cents ish, something like that. Maybe 8 to 10, 8 to 20, somewhere in that range. There is expensive electricity, which is really, you know, the biggest helper. You know, having to pay a lot for juice because they're in the mid 20 cent per kilowatt hour, maybe low 20s for actual cost of electricity. So that's a big driver.
One of the silver linings of the AI power crunch that's going on. Electricity prices are spiking, which gets people's attention, and it makes solar pencil faster.
Yep. I say it all the time. Us killing portions of the Green New Deal is going to drive up utility generation costs because solar and wind were cheap. And now those projects are going to get squeezed. There's going to be higher demand. It's going to push up the national price of electricity. So that's, you know, it sucks, but it's going to drive in a different way. It won't be as fast as a 30, 40, 50% tax credit, but it's going to do something else.
Yeah, I didn't collect this story for our roster today, but just in passing, I saw a story about Nextera's president or CEO talking, and he was like, look, we need all sources. This is an all hands on deck to stabilize the grid and stabilize prices for customers. If we put our foot on the neck of wind and solar right now, this is going to hurt people and business owners and grid operators. That's the bottom dollar. And that's pain and suffering. It's just not good for the economy, much less humans. So why do we have an economy? We have an economy so that we can have a good life. And so what is government for if not for helping us have a good life? I don't know. I really, that's the only reason to have a government, in my opinion, is to help us have a good life. And somehow we got that wrong.
We're working on stuff. I don't know what, but
progress for sure,
yes.
John, as individuals and as a species. And that's part of what makes life so interesting. All right. So what's next, John? Second favorite project of the week?
Yes. You just got to share it. See, you're laughing. You see?
Oh my goodness. That is a wonky project. I'm glad you got this.
Yes. It was worthy. It was worthy of the document. It's worthy.
All right. So this is on Reddit.
Yes.
My neighbor's PV system is the title of this.
Click on that thing. Zoom in on this thing. Look at that.
And unfortunately, if you're not viewing this on YouTube, you're not seeing the photo, but it's a shed, like a gardening shed, with a how would you describe that array?
With a ground mount racking system.
Yeah,
that's
ground mount racking
bigger than the structure.
Bigger than the structure on top
attached
of the
to
roof.
its roof. Yes.
That is very creative. It makes me think that shed is going to fly away someday.
Yes, absolutely. Without a doubt.
But that's good.
This is my favorite project of the week.
You know where that
Yeah,
is
I
geographically?
have no idea. I just saw the image and I was done. I was happy.
Yeah,
Time to move on.
yeah, that's pretty
Yes,
cool.
pretty neat. Yes. So
All right.
we got a perovskite article, and this one interests me.
We haven't talked
So
about perovskites in a little while anyway.
yeah, I don't want to bother people too much with my research and development pie in the sky stuff. I get a little annoying.
So this story is called Perovskite Tandem Solar Panels Selected for Utility Scale Installation Pilot
Yes.
by Ryan Kennedy from November 26th in PV Magazine. I'll get this on the screen here.
One thing
And
they specifically said, which I made me go, oh my gosh, they call it early stage validation of performance and durability under utility scale operating conditions. So what they're going to do is they have sales pitch to somebody saying, hey, this perovskite product is going to work. It's going to work at 28% efficiency, and
mhm.
it's going to do its thing, and it's probably going to last 20 years durability. These are the sales pitches around perovskites right now. And so this represents more real, but a field test in the United States, more real than that Oxford PV company
Mhm.
from the UK, which I don't trust at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, this right there, that's major developers. They don't run pilots, and they see real commercial potential. And in my opinion, Plenitude, which is a developer, sees it as being real. So
Yeah, and just so our listeners understand, what perovskites do is you can layer them on top of traditional crystalline PV, or thin film, I think, for that matter. And so you're getting an extra layer of energy producing material, and in this case, you're getting about a 5% bump, right? Because state of the art commercial solar panels are around 23%, right? I mean, if you buy a nice module today, 23%, right?
uh, probably, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
So they're knocking on the door of 30% with perovskites. The challenge is that perovskites degrade more quickly than PV. And so that's the question, is how long are they going to last? And they're working on it.
I, you know, I, Jenny Chase, she repeated something somebody that told her, and it was really smart. And they said to birth a new solar technology is like raising a child. It's going to take a long time. And because people want to spend a lot of money on it, it just takes a long time to develop. And so, I've been talking about perovskites since 2018s, 19s, and it's going to
Mhm.
take a while for it to develop and become purely accepted. But it's moving fast, and there's a lot of testing going on, and the pricing, the dynamics are that I don't think we have to have a 20 to 30-year product in the first couple of rounds, because they're going to be cheap enough, and they're going to have some sort of financial tools to lower the risk to manage having to replace the modules if necessary once or twice.
Sure.
But if
Yeah,
these
I
last
don't
10 years,
understand this
yeah,
math though. It says it provides up to 40% more power from the same footprint, said the company. How does a 5% bump at the, cell level or the module level lead to a 40% increase
well, if
at
you think
the facility level?
four, so 40%, so 8% over 20. So 8 into 20 would be, okay, let's divide that. 8 divided by 20. Well, 8 divided by 20 is 40%. So that's it right there. So
Oh,
if you're using solar panels that are 20% and you drop a 28, you get a 40% bump.
okay.
If you're using 24%, you get
Okay.
a 16.7% bump.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. And when they start hitting 32%, which is realistic because we have cells at 34 popping up everywhere, 33 and 34. Now you're talking a 60% bump because you're jumping 12 from 24. That's a full 50% from super cutting edge. And from standard, you're jumping 60%. 12 divided by 20 is 12 divided by 20, 60%. So, and that's where perovskites are heading. Middle of next, by 2030 maybe, we'll have products that people are teasing us with 32% modules is my guesstimate. We have the cells now, so it's going to be a quick jump, I think.
Yeah. All right. Alphabet acquires clean energy developer Intersect for 4.75 billion. I do think this is a big story.
Yeah.
And this was announced towards the end of last year, I think, but this story is from January 6th. In Utility Dive, Alphabet acquires clean energy developer for 4.75 billion. The acquisition follows a prior partnership between Google and Intersect and represents a new tactic to the tech giant's parent company in adopting is the tech giant's parent company is adopting in its decarbonization strategy. So I think this might be one of many acquisitions we see, but what's the play in your mind, John?
So someone else said it as well. They said Google is buying generation assets and developers for control over siting, interconnection, and delivery speed, not just getting PPAs. So this is Google saying the data center rush is going to be real.
Yep.
And the need for capacity is going to be massive. And that they're no longer comfortable waiting on developers on their own doing it. That they want to bring development skills, assets, and control of portfolios in-house. And Intersect for me was always just a solar and storage developer, and I think they did wind. They may have done wind first. Are they from like the Midwest and they were a massive wind group first?
Intersect? I think Intersect is from California, but I'm not 100%.
All right. The big names, they confuse me. All their names are so weird. But they're just a massive company. So it makes me the reason I like seeing this is because I too am a solar developer. And one day I'm hoping that somebody overpays for my company because they see, lots of things going on and they believe in the commercial solar guy. And they're like, you know what, we can double or triple the value, or we just need it. We have no choice. And so this just represents the demand for energy. This is similar to that banker thing. I bet you Google's doing math too and saying, okay, what's a better price for us? What's a better risk? The bankers now made 3.7 billion off doing green deals. Well, they're not going to make any money off these deals now because Google's going to finance it all. So this just represents a certain reckoning of what's really happening. And I like that image. It shows Google on a big oil well. I mean, they're not buying a tanker. That's like an oil tanker thing. But it's just the idea behind it is that renewables, solar, and storage is so important, important that we not only are we going to buy the milk, we're not going to just buy a cow. We're going to buy a whole farm. We're going to buy a whole breeding thing. We're going to buy everything, the whole damn machine. And that's what they just bought. They didn't just buy a PPA. They bought a PPA maker.
Right.
And you know what? Why buy the car when you can buy the machine making the car? One of my favorite Rage Against the Machine lines. Why buy the G Ride? They didn't want to buy the G Ride. They bought the factory that makes the G Ride. And that's what happened. And that's what I want to happen to commercial solar guy one day, so I can retire and go to an island.
Yeah, and Intersect has almost 11 gigawatts of clean energy capacity expected to be operating or in construction by late 2028. So that's the play here. They're acquiring a portfolio of existing assets and the ability to develop gigawatts of new assets.
Yes. Yeah, I think the play is both. I think that's part of the play, the 10.8. A friend of mine reached out to me. Guy does some of my investing, and he said, John, do you think this is 40 cents, 47 cents a watt? Is that a standard valuation? And I said, I don't think it's just buying the existing assets. I think this is looking forward another decade and buying another 100 gigawatts or another 50 gigawatts of assets. That's the bigger play. So big story, huge story, huge.
All right. I love it.
And then we'll do the opposite. We're about to swing the emotions here of our folks.
You're talking about Dominion?
Yes.
Dominion loses early court battle on CVOW. Story in renews.biz. I'm not familiar with this outlet. What's the story?
So Sevo, I don't know what the name is, but it's the Coastal Virginia Offshore Wind Facility.
Yeah.
And so what this is, so first off, U.S. government came out and said all offshore leases are suspended for wind,
Correct.
all of them. At first, they said it was because of radar. Then they said it's for top secret reasons. Whatever. It's just because we know the reason. So it's just garbage. So now all of the leases, and I believe there are 5 of them, they're all suing the
Right.
administration and saying this is wrong. The real
Yeah.
reason I grabbed this article because I wanted to show off a number, but so what really said Sevo said, hey, we need the right to cancel the stop work order while it's being litigated because it's hurting us. And the hurt, you can see it. It's about $5.3 million a day. You got to scroll down a tiny bit to find it.
Mm.
But it said it's costing the developer $5 million a day on vessels alone. That doesn't count the interest on this loan.
Yeah.
That doesn't count other workers, but that's just straight up vessels. It's probably costing them 10, 20 million bucks a day for this delay. You know, hundreds of millions for each one of these things. And that's the pain that he's causing. You know what? They say it right at the bottom. They say, yeah, you know, they should stop this because all these fees, they're going straight to guess who? They're going straight to the residents of Virginia and their fine electricity bills. So it's like, come on, buddy, because somebody's got to pay for those bills, and it's not going to be the CEO of the company. It's going to be the people who, because this project is guaranteed to be profitable for the utility. The utility owns it, it's developing it, spending all the money on it. It's going to make 10% on it, no matter what, no matter who does what to it. And
so this story is about Dominion, the Coastal Virginia Offshore Wind Project, but Ørsted and Equinor, 2 European developers, wind developers, are also suing.
Yep.
But in this case, they have not been successful so far.
So far, nobody's been successful at slowing the stop work order. So
yeah,
this is just one of a few, and it's BS, you know. And the next story is really amusing, Tim. I'm funny today. I'm bringing my my holiday cheer. But the next line item shows the first response. No. The next one is
wind farms pose security threat. China
yes.
is a sitting duck.
Yes. So the logic put out initially was, yeah, see, you're laughing again, Tim. See, I'm doing good. I'm doing a good job. I'm proud of myself.
You are,
yes.
dude. You are, dude. I'm getting my laughs in. This is awesome.
Yeah, so the original logic put out was, oh, no, we can't do this because if we put wind farms, they mess with our radar and our enemies can attack us. Well, this is China's coast, and it's covered with wind farms.
Sure
you know?
is.
Especially right down there by Taiwan. I mean,
what a cluster, huh?
Yeah, it's like it's just there's someone else shared with me a document because this was a lawsuit at some point, and the Defense Department came out and did analysis and said, no, wind farms don't mess with our radar. We know how to manage this. We're big radar kids. We've been doing this for a while. Yeah. So this is just another, BS. I'm mad because you put a wind farm next to my Scottish, what's it called thing? My Scottish
golf course.
Yeah. So
yeah, he's definitely got an axe to grind, and he's grinding it, man. Watch out. Watch out.
So anyway, wind, it's good and bad. Things are coming. Offshore wind is getting its butt kicked. Onshore wind is getting its butt kicked right now. It's rough. And wind is hard to build. Those are big projects, man. They take years. It's harder to get a wind farm up than a solar project. It's for sure. I feel sorry for the wind folks.
Yes,
because wind's huge. Wind is double digits.
A good story about this open sea offshore solar project, but there's not a good photo of it. I will put this on screen anyway. So the story is China commissions world's largest 1 gigawatt open sea offshore solar project. China has brought a 1 gigawatt offshore solar power plant online off the coast of Dongying, Shandong province, combining PV with energy storage and aquaculture. So it's a dual use project in what is now the world's largest open sea solar project in commercial operation. So apparently this area has very shallow seas, and I maybe we can find a photo on another site, but I saw a photo which is not here. I'll put this on screen. I'll put the PV magazine story on screen, and it's like a ground mount, right? It's pile driven solar.
I got an image in the article.
Is there?
Yep, I just put one in there. Different article. It's underneath yours on the document. Yep.
Good. But it's a huge project. That page isn't loading for me because of my ad blocker.
Oh, good.
Maybe you can share your screen.
Sure.
I'll stop sharing and you can share it.
Hopefully I don't hang up this time when I stop sharing.
Yeah, that was a good move.
Yeah, so check it out. So here, I've seen this one before. I've seen some other images about it.
Here we go.
But this is it though. Yes, it's short. It's a low water. They have giant chunks of solar that are built off the shore that are assembled, and then they're brought to cranes, which lift them up and drop them in. And
yeah, so it's more analogous to carport solar, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Those rows are like ginormous carports. They're just planted on top of shallow ocean. And it's good for aquaculture, it turns out. So you can grow fish and maybe crabs. I don't know what they're farming, but we obviously have a big appetite for seafood and apparently solar power, John.
Oh, yeah. So that's pretty cool plant. The different places where China's putting solar. This is related to what you talked about at the beginning of the show, man. The engineers are like, yes, we can see the truth. We don't have to follow the same financial rules as other places. And because of that, let's blast, let's build, let's do it.
Yeah, that book Breakneck is fascinating. Fascinating read. Check it out. All right, we have time for a couple more stories.
Sure. You know what? If that's the case, let's do this one. Let's skip the silver story. We can do that one in a moment.
Okay.
But let's talk about the batteries, because we haven't talked about batteries yet. You know, I like to talk about batteries every show now. Batteries are the new perovskites.
Brings online record best capacity in December 2025. Wow.
Yes.
They're going vertical, John. Going vertical.
Yes. And I think they're going.
Electric Felix.
He does a lot of car stuff. I follow him on Blue Sky. He's always posting EV stuff. So if you want to know way more than you ever want to know about EVs, follow this dude. Felix knows a lot. I think he's based in Germany, but he travels across Europe, always just taking cool pictures of charging and different cars and stuff. So if you want to know some EV stuff, but check this out. This is grid-tied batteries hitting China's power grid this year. This is it, man. This is the takeoff. I don't know if anybody predicted this much capacity at the end of the year. We'll see. But this is awesome. This looks like their solar charts from the prior years when they were just going nuts and deploying 80 gigawatts in December.
So it looks like they almost 4x'd year over year. This shows 2023, 24, and 25. And it was just shy of 30 gigawatts, 30 gigawatt hours in 24. And now it's hitting close to 70. So 2.5, something like that. Not 4, but.
And this is happening around the world. This is happening around the world right now. So I just, the capacities that are deploying are just so huge.
So China did 65 gigawatt hours in 2025. What did the US did? 15.
Which is surprising. I thought we'd do a little more.
4x.
Well, no. So
15,
this
30,
exceeded
45.
total US by more than 15. So that means China actually or the US did about 50.
Oh, that's our total install base, 15 gigawatt hours?
No. No. The 65 is 15 more than we did for the year. So that means 65 minus 15 means we did about 50, just a little bit below 50 gigawatt hours. So China did 65 in December. We did 50 for the year. So China probably did 2 or 3x us on the whole year. They probably did 150 gigawatt hours. I'm not certain the exact total, but I bet if we clicked on that article, Benchmark might tell us.
This one?
Yes, because that's the article where that image comes from. But maybe they're not, because Benchmark also charges for a lot of access.
Let's see. It's on screen now.
Oh, look,
China best installations December surpassed US 2025 total.
Yes.
Oh, their installations in 1 month?
Yes, their
more than
December
our
number.
annual?
Yes, that's what the interesting thing is. So then the question is, what they do for the rest of those months? 10, I could probably do a quick estimate. We look at that line, let's say it averages 10. So they did 110 gigawatt hours for the rest of the year, and then they did 65. So they ended up with 175 gigawatt hours for the year, whereas the US did 50. So it did about 3.5 times the amount of batteries that the United States installed.
I wonder if this is incentive driven, because I know China is phasing out some government incentives. And, when you have a phase out, you have a pulse like we have right now. We have a mini boom going on because of the phase out of the ITC, that kind of thing.
I don't think so with this, because I think this is their end of year. And so they have incentives that end at the end of every year that gets stuff installed. So I think this is incentive driven, but it's an end of year versus an end of the incentive. How's that? Like, you know how we always have a bump at the end of the year because of tax credits? I think this is similar-ish versus the ITC fade out. Boom. Whereas I would argue in May, when China installed 90 gigawatts of solar, that was an incentive leaving. That was the end of that incentive. So I think we might see this again next year. Hopefully. I don't know. But all I know is that China is now popping when it comes to putting some solar capacity out there. So that's pretty cool.
You should probably share this LONGi story if you want to do it, because it's on Bloomberg, and
oh yes, Bloomberg.
I'm not one of the few subscribers.
So this is interesting, and I'm going to have a follow-up article with it. But LONGi joins the Chinese solar push to cut solar costs by reducing silver. And they're going to shift to copper, is what the data suggests.
Yeah.
And so the copper move is cheaper. It'll knock the cost off. Cost of silver has driven up the cost of a solar panel by a penny and a half per watt. So that's 10-20% that it's pushed the price. The cost of silver would cut, or moving the copper would cut that in half. So there has been a push on getting rid of silver, pushing silver out, but silver works really well. It doesn't corrode. It moves electricity better. It can be printed out thinner, I believe. So there's these things about it that it's just more malleable maybe than copper, but it's useful. Not every solar panel will work best with silver. It seems like back contact, the ones where the solar cells, it's all black on the front and you have the mesh on the back. So that would work better for copper because the copper is bigger and you don't mind blocking it. But this is happening, and it's happening because price of silver is like $75 an ounce or something, whereas it used to be 15. My brother buys a bunch of silver. He's rich now. He's probably loving it. He's got silver coins, silver bars. Go and hang out with him. He's definitely prepared for when everything collapses. I need to sell him some solar panels and some batteries though, so I can go hang out with him.
There you go. But LONGi is the largest solar panel manufacturer in the world, apparently.
Are they the largest still? Do they call them largest in this article? They might be.
I looked on Perplexity.
All right, yeah. So they're them, Jinko, they're up there.
Yeah, Jinko. LONGi in 2024, LONGi produced 150 gigawatts of PV. Jinko produced 130.
Oh,
but that's some serious manufacturing. Here in the U.S., we're doing, if we're lucky, 50 gigawatts of solar panel manufacture, right?
Yep. No, actually 65. Actually, we just had something put out I saw from
in 2025.
Well, maybe it's 26. Here, let me look. Let me go back to my
Speaking of solar panels, everybody's looking for FEOC free solar panels, and I'm curious who your go-to is, John. The names that I say a lot are Heliene and Imperial Star. Thank you, Chris Letman. What are the names that are on the tip of your tongue when it comes to FIAC-free solar panels?
So for me, well, first off, I'm sharing something. I got to get it into the room. Don't know how to do that.
There we go.
Oh, there we
I
go.
got it.
So Heliene is who I bought recently.
Yeah.
But I think this list here on the right is a collection, the top 2/3 of it. First Solar we don't buy. That's the big green chunk in the bottom. That's utility. Qcell we buy a bunch of. Corning, I didn't know they were actually making panels. I thought they were just making this stuff, but I guess they're moving all the way down. Canadian Solar and Illuminate, I think those are going to be straight utility scale. This T1 Energy company, they bought, I think, a Jinko factory, a 5 gigawatt factory, and they're making it bigger in Texas. Maybe it was Jinko, maybe it was someone else. I can't remember
It
who.
was someone else, but I can't
It was
remember
someone.
who.
Okay, but they are the ones that bought that, and they're selling out.
Yeah.
Still Fab, Wari, Boliet. I would have never considered them on this list, but they're manufacturing. Jinko, I definitely don't consider because obviously they're China. So Seg is 50-50. Heliene, I trust. Suniva, I don't trust. ES Foundry, I sort of trust because I think they're buying like domestic stuff too. So we have a lot more people here to consider. I don't have access to this full list. I actually asked Jenny Chase. I said, how do we always get access to a list like this? Does this mean I have to pay for the $65,000 subscription? Yeah, roughly. I don't know what the number is, but it's something like that. It's expensive. So I don't have the money for that one. I got the $400 a year read news constantly subscription. So
Cool. All right. Well, looking forward to seeing you in Boston on
RE
February
Plus.
3 for RE Plus Northeast. We will have a live on January 23rd. So that's when we're back in 2 weeks. And then it's 2 weeks again before the RE Plus Northeast. So love to connect with our listeners, though, at RE Plus Northeast or any other trade show. I'm also going to Intersolar San Diego. Also in February, I'm going to NABCEP in Milwaukee in March.
Wow.
Where can our listeners find you, John Weaver?
Well, I'll be at RE Plus for a day, walking around because it's literally a bicycle ride away. I'll probably take the train though because too many roads to cross. And commercialsolarguy.com. That's my normal place. We also posted a new story on LinkedIn, our project of the year. So you can comment on there and like it. So you can find me on LinkedIn, commercialsolarguy.com, Blue Sky. Or you could call Craig. He's our sales guy. Tell him what you want to build and we'll help you build it.
And you can check out all of our content at cleanpowerhour.com. The most important thing is to tell a friend about the show. So many people who don't know about the Clean Power Hour yet, and they will appreciate the invitation. Trust me. This is really good content, both the news roundups that we do here and all the interviews that we're dropping in between. With that, I'll say, let's grow solar and storage. Thank you so much, John.